Last week, I made a video discussing the most surprising player from every MLB team this season. I figured since it relates to this video, I might as well talk about the most disappointing player from every team next. There are multiple reasons that a player could be having a disappointing season. This includes being hyped up a lot this past offseason, getting overpaid in free agency, or someone who is just having a really bad season. All of these were factors into my choices for each team. I should also mention that I'm recording this video a few days in advance, so some of these players' stats will be slightly off, and it's very possible that some of them are on different teams by the time this video comes out. Without further ado, let's get into my picks. Starting off with the Arizona Diamondbacks, I'm taking Corbin Carroll. After finishing 5th in National League MVP voting in his rookie campaign last year, the sophomore slump has hit Carroll harder than anyone in the league. In 98 games this year, he's at 6 home runs and stolen 20 bases while posting a .632 OPS. His OPS is over 200 points lower than it was last season, and Carroll just hasn't been able to get into a groove this year. He was a popular pick to win MVP this season, and it's been a very disappointing season overall. Luckily for Carroll, he's still only 23 and will surely bounce back sooner than later. Next up is the Atlanta Braves, and I'm picking Matt Olson. With the Braves losing Ronald Acuna Jr. for the season in May, they desperately needed the rest of the offense to step up. Since then, none of their big bats have really done anything besides Marcell Ozuna. Of all their big bats who have struggled, Matt Olson has had a big down season after hitting 54 home runs and posting an OPS of almost 1,000 last year. In 99 games this season, Olson's hit 13 home runs and 21 doubles, posting a .688 OPS. Again, much like Carroll, I'm very confident Olson will bounce back either later this season or next season, but it's been a bad year for his standards nonetheless. Moving on to the Baltimore Orioles, I'm going with Cedric Mullins. The Orioles have had a pretty good season overall, and all of their best players are having really good years. The only player that was expected to be better is Cedric Mullins. While he wasn't expected to be their X factor or a big piece of the team this year, he just hasn't played well at all. In 91 games this season, Mullins has hit 10 home runs and stolen 16 bases while posting a .636 OPS. With the Orioles having Heston Kjerstad, Colton Cowser, and Kyle Stowers for the long run, I wouldn't be shocked if Mullins is traded soon. Now we're on to the Boston Red Sox, and I'm taking Brayan Bello. With the Red Sox starting rotation being up in the air heading into the season, Bello looks like he would be their ace on paper. I for one thought he could potentially be an all-star this year, but he struggled more than ever. In 18 starts this season, Bello has posted a 5.27 ERA and 1.44 WHIP in 95 2/3 innings. He's only 25 years old and has very good stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if he figures it out soon. But to say this season hasn't been a major disappointment for Bello would be a total lie. Up next are the Chicago Cubs, and I'm picking Dansby Swanson. The Cubs have been a big disappointment this season overall. After re-signing Cody Bellinger this offseason and bringing in Shoto Imanaga, the Cubs were the betting favorite to win the NL Central entering the year. So far this season, the pitching has held up okay, but the offense is only 23rd in runs per game. Dansby Swanson is a big part of that depressing offense. After recording 4.8 B-WAR last year, Swanson has only recorded 1 B-WAR this season, while only hitting 9 home runs and posting a .635 OPS. If the Cubs are going to make a playoff run this season, they need Dansby to have a monster second half. Moving on to the Chicago White Sox, I'm taking Michael Kopech. While the White Sox have been absolutely terrible this season, there weren't any expectations for them to be good. Despite that, everyone around the league definitely expected a better year out of Michael Kopech. The flamethrower is once one of the best prospects in all of baseball, but has been derailed by arm injuries throughout his career. In 42 games this season as the White Sox closer, he's posted a 4.85 ERA and 1.34 WHIP in 42 2/3 innings. A lot of people, including myself, figured he would finally take a leap forward this season, but he hasn't, and I'm not sure if he ever will. Now we're on to the Cincinnati Reds, and I'm going with Alexis Diaz. The Reds have had a pretty disappointing season overall, as many people thought they would be in a playoff spot right now. While they've had some injuries to some key players, their closer Alexis Diaz has been healthy for almost the whole year, but he's really struggled. In 38 games, he's posted a 4.46 ERA and 1.51 WHIP while recording 19 out of 21 save chances. His ERA is up almost a run and a half from last season, in a year where many thought he would take a major step forward. He's been a big part of why the Reds are leaning towards being sellers at the trade deadline. Next up is the Cleveland Guardians, and I'm picking Triston McKenzie. The Guardians have surprisingly been one of the best teams in baseball this season, and they've done it while not having a starting pitcher with an ERA under 3. Former top prospect Triston McKenzie was supposed to lead this staff after an injury to Shane Bieber, and that just hasn't happened. In 16 starts this season, he's posted a 6.44 FIP and 1.56 WHIP in 75 2/3 innings. He had an ERA under 3 in his last full year in 2022, so this drastic decline in play has really hurt the Guardians this year. Moving on to the Colorado Rockies, I'm taking Nolan Jones. The Rockies were expected to be absolutely awful this season, and they've basically been exactly as advertised. They would be a bit better if Nolan Jones wasn't having a down year. After posting a .931 OPS and breaking out in 2023, the struggle has been real for Jones in 2024. Despite dealing with injuries this year, in 49 games, Jones has only hit 3 home runs while posting a .623 OPS. It's definitely fair to question whether or not 2023 was a fluke year for Jones, due to him not becoming a full-time major leaguer until 7 years after he was drafted. Even with the injuries, it's been a disappointing 2024 campaign for Jones. Now we're on to the Detroit Tigers, and I'm going with Spencer Torkelson. In my opinion, Torkelson is the most disappointing player in baseball this season. After being drafted first overall in the 2020 draft, Torkelson finally broke out as a solid player last year, hitting 31 home runs and 34 doubles. However, 2024 has been a total 180 for him. In 54 games, he's hit 4 home runs and 15 doubles, posting a .597 OPS. He got optioned to AAA in early June due to these struggles and is yet to get called back up. I thought Torkelson would be an all-star this year, and man, he didn't even get remotely close. Up next is the Houston Astros, and I'm picking Chas McCormick. The Astros pitching staff has been absolutely decimated by injuries this season, and their fill-in guys have done a great job overall at keeping them in contention. While Alex Bregman is having a down season, Chas McCormick has been absolutely abysmal this year. After posting an 842 OPS last year, McCormick's OPS has plummeted to 567 this season, to go along with almost completely losing his power. While it's tough to get in a rhythm without playing every day, posting a negative WAR after having your best season ever is absolutely awful. Moving on to the Kansas City Royals, I'm taking MJ Melendez. The Royals have probably been the biggest surprise team in baseball, as I don't think anyone had them contending for a playoff spot in late July. Due to this success, it was tough to find someone having a disappointing season, but MJ Melendez hasn't lived up to his expectations. He's a former top 100 prospect who is expected to be a big player in the Royals' future, and many people thought he'd take a leap forward in 2024. In 85 games this year, he's at 11 home runs and 15 doubles, posting a 653 OPS. While these numbers aren't terribly down from last year's, the Royals didn't have another good candidate for this title. Now we're on to the Los Angeles Angels, and I'm going with Joe Adell. The Angels weren't expected to compete this season, but there were expectations that their top young players would show signs of improvement. While Zach Neto and Logan O'Hoppe have taken strides forward this year, Joe Adell hasn't. The former number 6 overall prospect in baseball got caught up in 2020, but has struggled in multiple stints in the majors. Due to Adell having a clear starting job in 2024, everyone expected him to break out, but that just hasn't happened so far. In 92 games this season, he's at 15 home runs and 8 doubles, posting a 662 OPS. With Adell being out of minor league options, I think his time in Anaheim is coming to an end very soon. Next up is the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I'm picking Gavin Lux. This might not be entirely fair to Lux, but I'll explain. He was once the second overall prospect in baseball in 2019, and had his best season in 2022, posting a 745 OPS and recording 2.8 BWAR. Just when it looked like he was turning a corner, he tore his ACL in 2023 spring training and missed the whole season. Heading into 2024, he was expected to get better, but he's regressed a lot. In 83 games, he's hit 5 home runs and 11 doubles, posting a 612 OPS. It's fair to say Lux is still recovering from his knee injury, and he has played better lately, but overall has been a big disappointment for the Dodgers. Moving on to the Miami Marlins, I'm taking Tim Anderson. I honestly could have said the entire team for this one, but I'll specifically focus on Anderson here. He was once one of the best shortstops in baseball a few years ago, but really fell apart in 2023 with the White Sox, where he posted a 582 OPS. He signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Marlins this offseason, and that was a total waste of $5 million. In 65 games this year, he hit 0 home runs while posting a 463 OPS and recording negative 1.3 BWAR. Anderson got DFA'd by the Marlins on July 2nd, and to no surprise, no one has picked him up since then. I think his MLB career might very well be over. Now we're on to the Milwaukee Brewers, and I'm going with Freddie Peralta. The Brewers have been in first place in the NL Central for basically the entire season, and the way they've done it has been surprising. While their offense has been their issue for a number of years, they're 7th in runs per game this season. The most disappointing aspect of their team has been their starting pitching, with Freddie Peralta being a big part of that. He was a popular choice to win National League Cy Young entering the season, but that just hasn't happened. In 20 starts, he's posted a 3.9 ERA and 1.17 WHIP in 109 innings. If the Brewers want to make a run in the playoffs, they desperately need Peralta to pitch like an ace. Up next, the Minnesota Twins, and I'm picking Pablo Lopez. The Twins have had a nice season overall, led by the resurgence of Carlos Correa, but their ace Pablo Lopez has not been nearly as good as he's been in recent years. After posting an ERA under 4 in 4 straight seasons prior to this year, Lopez has posted a 4.86 ERA in 20 starts this season. While that's not absolutely awful, Lopez having a down year is the difference between the Twins being in first or second place in the AL Central right now. He's definitely good enough to bounce back, and I for sure expect him to. Moving on to the New York Mets, I'm taking Brett Beatty. The Mets started out the year as one of the worst teams in baseball, but have battled back since the start of June and are within striking distance of a playoff spot. This was supposed to be a transition year, where their top young players would get lots of playing time and improve, and their former number 2 prospect Brett Beatty has really struggled. He was a top 15 prospect in baseball 2 years ago, and still hasn't taken a leap forward in the majors. In 50 games this season, he's hit 4 home runs and 3 doubles, posting a 633 OPS. He got sent down to AAA in early June and hasn't been called up since then. With Mark Vientos playing great, Beatty might not get another chance with the Mets. Now we're on to the New York Yankees, and I'm going with Anthony Rizzo. Carlos Rodon definitely gets an honorable mention here, but I have to hand this one to Rizzo. Heading into the year, everyone was talking about how stacked the Yankees lineup looked, and they expected Anthony Rizzo to be a big part of it. After struggling at times in 2023, the struggles have gotten worse in 2024. After posting a 703 OPS last year, Rizzo's only hit 8 home runs while posting a 630 OPS in 70 games this season. Given that he's had injuries in 3 straight seasons at 35 years old, I have a hard time believing Rizzo will bounce back soon. Next up is the Oakland A's, and I'm picking Zach Geloff. The A's have been better than expected this season, thanks to players like Brent Rooker and Mason Miller improving a lot. One player that I had high expectations for going into the season was their second baseman, Zach Geloff. He posted an 840 OPS in his rookie year last year, showing great power and speed, so I figured he would improve off that again, and he's regressed a lot. In 81 games this season, he's hit 13 home runs and stolen 12 bases while posting a .633 OPS. The sophomore slump is common for a lot of players, so I expect Geloff to have a better second half this season. Moving on to the Philadelphia Phillies, I'm taking Taijuan Walker. I don't think many people thought the Phillies would be the best team in baseball this season, but here we are. Nearly all of their players have been great for them, so it was tough picking a player having a disappointing season. Taijuan Walker almost has to be the choice here. He's in the second year of a 4-year, $72 million contract with the Phillies and has been a letdown again this season. In 10 starts, he's posted a 5.76 FIP and 1.49 WHIP in 53 innings. For a number 5 starter, this contract is absolutely awful and it could prevent the Phillies from adding an impact bat at the trade deadline. Now we're on to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm going with Ke'Bryan Hayes. Hayes was the 9th best prospect in baseball in 2020 and struggled to break out until 2023. Last season, he posted a .762 OPS while winning a Gold Glove and recording 4 B-WAR. Everyone thought his offense would continue to improve this season, but it's been the exact opposite. In 76 games this season, he's hit 3 home runs and 9 doubles, posting a .594 OPS. Hayes is now 27 years old, so he should be in his prime right now, but he's simply not producing. With him struggling like this and the team playing well, it'll be interesting to see how much playing time he gets down the stretch. Up next are the San Diego Padres, and I'm picking Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts signed a massive 11-year, $280 million contract with the Padres after the 2022 season. At the time of the deal, it looked like it would age terribly, due to the contract taking Bogaerts to his age 41 season. In his first year as a Padre, he played in 155 games while posting a .790 OPS and recording 4.4 B-WAR, so he had a great year. However, his performance has fallen off a cliff this year. In 53 games this season, he's at 4 home runs and 2 doubles, posting a .605 OPS. I know he's been hurt a little bit, but he's been a massive disappointment this year, and his contract looks like it will age very poorly. Moving on to the San Francisco Giants, I'm taking Blake Snell. The Giants went into this past offseason looking to spend big, and man did they ever. They hashed out over $320 million to a group of really good players, including Blake Snell. After winning the National League Cy Young last year, he signed a 2-year, $64 million contract with the Giants a week before the season started. It has really stuck due to not having a spring training. In 9 starts, he's posted a 5.83 ERA and 1.37 WHIP in almost 42 innings. He's had a really tough time throwing strikes this season, as the Giants definitely regret handing him that contract. Now we're on to the Seattle Mariners. I'm going with Julio Rodriguez. The Mariners' offense has been unbelievably terrible this year, as no one on their team has an OPS over 750. In my opinion, none of them have been more disappointing than their superstar Julio Rodriguez. In 100 games this season, he's hit 11 home runs and stolen 18 bases while posting a .687 OPS. While these numbers aren't awful, they definitely aren't what Mariners fans wanted out of J-Rod this year. They definitely need upgrades by the trade deadline if they want to make the playoffs. Next up are the St. Louis Cardinals, and I'm picking Paul Goldschmidt. The Cardinals are somehow in a playoff spot right now with a negative -36 run differential this season, and part of that differential is due to the struggles of Paul Goldschmidt. After winning National League MVP in 2022, Goldie's play dipped off a bit in 2023, but he still recorded an .810 OPS. This season, his play has fallen off a lot. In 97 games, he's hit 14 home runs and 14 doubles, posting a .657 OPS. I know Goldie's almost 37 years old, but I don't think anyone saw his production falling off this quickly. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Rays, I'm taking Randy Arozarena. While the Rays traded away Tyler Glasnow and have been without Shane McClanahan this season, I still thought they would be better than a .500 team. The offense has been really bad this season, only producing more runs per game than the Mariners, Marlins, and White Sox. A big reason for this is Randy Arozarena not having a great year. In 98 games this season, he's hit 15 home runs and stolen 16 bases, posting a .707 OPS. His better play recently has him in a lot of trade talks, so I wouldn't be shocked if he's on a new team by next week. Now we're on to the Texas Rangers. I'm going with Evan Carter. It feels really weird having a rookie here, but with how good Carter was in his brief stint in the majors last season, I feel fine putting him here. Carter was a consensus top 10 prospect in baseball in 2023 and got called up last September. He posted an OPS over 1,000 in his first month in the bigs and an OPS over 900 in the playoffs. To say he had big expectations in 2023 was an understatement. In 45 games this season, he's at 5 home runs with posting a .633 OPS. It's not the biggest sample size due to an injury, but he still hasn't produced like fans thought he would this year. Up next are the Toronto Blue Jays, and I'm picking Bo Bichette. The Blue Jays are hands down the biggest disappointment in baseball this season, and their poor play is a reflection of how bad their best players have been. Outside of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., all of their top players have had down years, and none worse than Bo Bichette. Bichette posted an OPS over 800 in each of his first 5 big league seasons, but has been flat out awful this year. In 79 games, he's at 4 home runs and 16 doubles, posting a .597 OPS. To say it's been a miserable season for Bichette is an understatement. Given that he's a free agent for 2025, he badly needs to bounce back soon. Finally, we have the Washington Nationals. I'm taking K-Bear Ruiz. Ruiz was the big piece the Nationals got back in exchange for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner at the 2021 trade deadline, and he just hasn't broken out with the Nats. In 74 games this season, he's at 7 home runs and 9 doubles, posting a .591 OPS. I know that Ruiz is still fairly young at 26, but given that he's also one of the worst defensive catchers in baseball, it's fair to wonder how much longer the Nationals will have him as their starting catcher. That's going to do it for the video today. I really enjoyed making my picks for this video, and it will be interesting to see if any of these players get traded or bounce back in the second half of the season. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. Thanks, and I hope to see you in the next video.